there's sometimes like just things are not being seen because we're not necessarily looking at it, and your team isn't at the position to find it either.
But my team's responsibility is not to do that regular, like,
Yeah,
that's an operational thing.
That's a gap.
and it's true. Like, and I think that's
So-
sometimes it's nobody here, but it's at the field level, and it's not being done.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's what the inventory specialist, the field inventory specialist is supposed to be doing.
I'm gonna put seeing what Lawson/procurement/OFOG has been doing in country previously and sort of building on that work in our issues list. Is that okay? And maybe capturing this inventory specialist role.
Yeah, we really haven't talked
With
about
an issue?
that, but from a Lawson perspective, that's a key thing.
I'm just trying to articulate what I'm thinking, because I've thought about this before. That's a very good question, the inventory specialist in the field. When something looks wrong, who do you go to? Who supervises the inventory specialist in the field? That question comes up often. Who supervises the inventory specialist in the field? I see stuff that's wrong. I mean, right now we have one question where a single tablet of oral contraceptives costs $220 in Kenya. I've emailed the inventory specialist. I don't get an answer. What's next?
Yeah.
Right. And why are you looking at, like.
Well, then that's another
Yeah,
question. Is it
like-
even my role to look at that?
Right, like, obviously, you're gonna act on it because it's gonna affect you. And
See, that makes sense, I don't know, it makes sense to me that you would identify that.
I think I have to because my job is to produce financial statements.
Yeah.
When I produce financial statements, I review all the numbers. When the numbers aren't right, I need to get them fixed.
Yeah.
So you should flag it, but who's supposed to fix it? Well, it's supposed to be the inventory specialist, but if you're not getting a response.
Then I should be able to go to the finance manager.
Right.
And if the finance manager's answer, I go to the CR. See, this is kind of one of the structural things in PSI.
Or is it that you're supposed to go to the FA?
Ed and I both work for Miguel, but Miguel is not over the finance staff of the platforms. So, when I email the inventory specialist or the finance manager or the controller in Kenya, it's just by their good graces that they answer me. They're under no obligation to answer my emails.
But I would say Kim is over
Everyone.
staff out there, so they should respond to you, knowing that Kim has.
Well, most of the time they do. I mean, generally we get along very well, but I think that's because I've made an effort towards building relationships. It's not like we have a clear policy manual which states.
So maybe we can write that there's how would we note that gap?
Oversight of field finance staff, oversight of field inventory specialists and warehouse managers.
I'd say, because I have the same problem as you do from an operational side. It's only by their good graces that they ever work with me. They have no obligation to do as such. So, but even more interesting.
And you and I have both the same problem. We talk to them, we explain to them professionally, blah, 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 they say yes, 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 nothing ever
Lovely,
happens.
lovely. Yeah.
So, we say it's by their grace, their good grace that they respond, but they're all consolidated in our financials.
They don't understand that. They don't understand what that means.
No, so then I'm coming all back to, okay, so they're all consolidated. We have country representatives who are the managing directors of those organisations, and ultimately we do have a route in. Nigeria is a different matter. Kenya is a different matter, but we do have a route, and I think it comes back to the why does it matter, and how do we get someone else to realise that this is important.
But, I mean, the CRs don't report to Kim, and we kind of, I think, all do, and it's also the understanding, I think it goes to your point, getting them to care, because we need to get the programs, the programmatic side to care, because that's who they ultimately,
See, like a country that's on Lawson is going to care about, will eventually care about inventory, because their CR and their DAF are going to have to go through an external audit where they have inventory on their balance sheet, which they've not had to deal with before. QuickBooks country doesn't care about inventory because it doesn't affect their balance sheet. They don't have an external auditor ever asking them about it. So I think it kind of comes back to a big funnel question of how do we make them
Appreciate the importance of why we're asking what we're asking.
So I've always had an issue with that gap of if I can't get them to value it, where do I go? Because
Where do you
there's
go
not
from there?
even a chief operations, I mean, there's Peter, but he's not actually a warehouse person, he doesn't.
Right, there's no, sorry,
There's,
Yeah.
there's no
I have
operations
one
head.
yeah, there's no operations head for me to go to say warehouse manager X is doing a bad job and CR Y doesn't care.
what about the RDs?
This is, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound cynical, but I have taken that approach, and they, to kind of steal an idea that Lily had, there's been so much emphasis on social marketing and programmatic success. They really don't care. I mean, they don't have time to care. Because the emphasis has been so different up to this point, and I guess I have been at a loss up to now as to how to sway the tides to get an RD to care as much about their warehouse as they do about their sales department.
I think this is just an acknowledgement of something we've talked about with training, just in like the lower levels, but also in the upper levels too, is that those people are programmatic staff, they're public health experts, they're, you know, epidemiologists, whatever their responsibilities, they're not running a business. They're not familiar with that. So they're certainly, you know, that's their education matches the idea of, you know, caring about the social marketing aspect versus caring about the product.
And I think part of it is clarifying the chain. The warehouse manager is responsible to answering to the CR about inventory issues. The CR is responsible to answering to the RD about inventory issues. And the RD is ultimately responsible, and their bonus is tied to that chain. I mean, that's how I envisioned it. Because